Sama alaleka jumbi sam jonta famena sabuma alaleka jumbi sam Tramakang susa lejo tramakang kalau nimbe nyodi tramakang la ala juga juga
Jali. We're greeting everybody in the holy month of Ramadan. The tune is thematically linked to the migration from the east to the region of Gambia.
Sama alaleka jumbi sam jonta famena sabuma alaleka jumbi sam
This theme and the tune is significant in our history to confirm the migration of the people in the entire Greater Senegambia region, where the country Gambia is historically and culturally connected. The migration which led to the influx of diverse cultural people into Senegambia region. The early population by Nukas, Jolas, who migrated during the Bantu migration period and the expansion. We have Papel, so many ethnic groups. We have Jollof migration into Senegambia during the 11th century, following the downfall of Ghana Empire. The Jollof people from Wagadu in Ghana, led by Amaringon farm. Jali, these are the ethnics before the Mandi migration. The Sierra migration all the way from Ensa Ghana. Although the entire Senegambian population migrated from Ensa Egypt, the Serahulas, Serere, Wolof, Mandi-speaking people, and other diverse population were early migrants all the way from Sudan, Ethiopia, and Egypt. Western Sudan became a transitional zone which led many of these ethnic groups from Western Sudan. Now to Senegambia. Jali.
Sayalum mune fioti nyina ila nyankum kulukan ani sebenyo di drama kana susale jo drama Monsu tuluta mamuna boja tuluta sabiji monsu tuluta mamuna boja tuluta
Wolof migration into Senegambia region a centralized population and cultural group in Senegambia in the 11th century, led by Amaringon from Wagadu, leading to the creation of Jolof State in the northern Senegambia. They created Walo, they created Jolof, they created Kayor and Bawal, and later Sin and Salum were actually annexed and incorporated into Jolof Empire in the latter part of centuries. I'll tell you.
Sabma alaleka jombe sabu jonda fambenda sabma alaleka jombe sabma dramakan susale jom dramakan kelon bejo de dramakan susale jom dramakan.
This was after the downfall of Ghana Empire. However, in the 13th century, in Western Sudan, the entire Mali rose against Konteh, leading to the Battle of Kansala or Karina, where Sumanguru was defeated, leading to the rise of Mandi Empire and eventual migration of Mandi-speaking people in the 13th century. Jali. Thank you, Jali. With the rise of Mandi Empire and the expansion towards the Western Atlantic zone, the entire Jolof was conquered. Sinan Salum, Nyomi, Jara, and the entire Casamas, up to Guinea-Conakry, we are all conquered. The expedition of Mandi was led by Tramakan Tarwale. Who was Tramakan Tarwale? According to the stories telling, Tramakan was the ancestors of Kabu, and also Tarwale clans and the Jobs. The Nyantos of Kabu were the descendant of Tramakan Tarwale, who conquered the entire Western Atlantic zone in the 13th century. Conquered it by Lucas, Nalus, Pajadingas, and established Kano in Guinea-Bissau. Actually, this Congress led to Mandi migration to Senegambia region, leading to the creation of Mandi principalities along the River Gambia, where Bulli, Jimara, Sandu, Nyamina, Nyani, Jara, Nyomi, and Badibu predominantly occupied by the Mandi-speaking people. This led to Senegambia connection to Mali Empire. In the 13th century, where entire Mali expanded their political tentacles. But right before Colonial Conquest in the Senegambia, women were ruling in the entire Senegambia area. In Badibu in Nyomi Bakindiki, Mansa Adame from Jambekula. In Badibu Jumansa, Mama Farijadama was one ruling. This was before patriarchal Mandin dominance or patriarchism. In Sinan Salum, up to Jala we have Ndachambot. Women were ruling in Congo, Sanyang. You have Queen Ulendi Jassa. Before men will actually succeed the throne of Mali. When the expansion of Mali, Kabul was conquered by Tramaga, leading to the establishment of Kabul state. Two aristocrats emerged among the Kabul people, Minyanta and Konteh, where Kabul Empire was established. And Minyanta and Konteh. We are told to where the Senegambian empires, where you have the Jolof Empire and Kabul. These empires were a product of medieval empires. Ghana, Jali, very significant. The Nyanchos and the Koreans, you have the Jolof Chedos and the Jolof Bulls. These political aristocrats established two sovereign empires in the southern Senegambia and northern Senegambia. Jolof was ruled from Jolof as a state. It had many states. Sinan Salum, Cairo and Bawal, up to Upper Senegal. Kabul in the southern part, all the Gambian states from Nyomi down to Wuli and Sandu, where and up to Kolibatu. Nyanchos and the Koreans. Who were the Nyanchos? Jali.
Kedo kana majo, iyo kedo kana majo, kedo kabu kana majo. Hani Bakary muinam Kanodia mulanoleti Kanodia mulanoleti Balava kola menole numa Kea balankula nari hodawrol kea Ni balanta kumine baulenka Nyanchube fara para de borla Binta be fala binta de borla mume Walle mama bota bonye suma tumanna suma jimala suma kunda balaba kajoni balaba tenkila ni balaba kan suma Walle mama nyalmundi mawti kabuni mantan ni kiling kundu ni manno ni mangil bidi ni wani mangkumba terenna ni man teringuro ni man har ni ma woni dalla ni ma woli ka fole fa dunya no mandi Wali jamano la siti pakilo ngafa pakia sampa kibiro banda jalolu jagalja Wali jamano la sonya da singa be kabro singna ko masinga basare na bari ngalu ne kele mandi Kori ngote kulu findi kori ngote kulu ko itifona atita minyala Kabako de jemandi abara minnalu nyinyada kori woni tamba mamudu keleke dukala sansama te kongoli ala nimba fada fo e ba ko mansa nimba jida fo e trama kan tenda so ko sana mo kan ikay na mo kan mansa
Jali, who are the Nyanchos? The Sane and the Mades. And who are the Corins? Sonko, Sanyang, Jasi, Konjira, and that of Manja. Nyanchos were the administrative aristocrats, just like Jolof in the Bulls, and the Chelos. But the Corins were the military aristocrats. They were the one who protect the Nyanchos. They are in the hands of the Corins, carbon models. So this is how this subsidiary region, Gambia, was ruled and governed by Kabu states. Jolof was ruled by the Wolofs, and their kings were called Boom, and their military aristocrats were called Chelos. Until the 15th century, when the empire was established, in the 19th century, both Jolof and the Kabu collapsed as a result of European intervention. Jali.
Yo marolu jambe dile sane manilu al jambe nyadi Kedo kana majo iyo kedo kana majo kedo kabu kana majo Imaje dende dunia la mume Ketu mu fotuma biman dunia da bita banamume Wali jamano la fa dunia lumandi Wali jamano la siti pakilo ngafa pakia sampaki biro banda jalolu jagalja Wali jamano la sonya da singo be kaburo sinna ko masingo ba saren na bari ngalo ne kele mandi
Thank you, Jali.
Nyanchul be fala bari te borra mume korimul be fala bari te borra mume Obenna kori wambang, bari manna kori wajoni nyala, London janyo dia dala, Roisa nyaneng, Lis janyo dia dala, Waya kenye London ne, Waya kenye Lis le hajanyo mangkuyala mumeke, Kori wabe fala, Roite borla mume, Roi be fala, Pate borla mume, Roi be fala, Kori wote tala mumeke.
Jali.
Jare tu ke maleng Amis maringe maleng imaje roite borlamume roy dindi moto maleng Gambia.
Jali, this is what actually we can establish as Gambian history during the pre-colonial time. As we are now shifting to colonial period, that marked the coming of the European people. Colonial period, where Gambia was actually conquered and ruled by the British in the latter part of the 19th century, where we can understand the entire Gambia was actually under colonialism. We are going to shift the Baba.
Bambaleje, Alaji Bamba Bujam. Alinga Bambo Kumbong, Alinga Bambo Wase, Alayala Bambo Dale, Sumakunda Bambo. Bambaleje, Alaji Bamba Bujang. Kana kumbong ibabu nyano leti barifa mumansu leti.
Jali, this one is very significant. As we are entering into colonial Gambia now, this tune is a reference to the conquerors of Congo and other parts of the Gambia. Talking about the Bojan Sankara, the Madiba Konteh. The colonial period was established in Gambia in the early 20th century, when the entire Gambian jurisdiction were actually divided into two, south and the northern part. The Gambia, two commissioners were given directive to supervise the entire Gambian jurisdiction administratively, situated in the south of the Gambia, Jali in the north of the Gambia, not back of the Gambia. After the conquest and overthrow of Combo for the Kawa Mabaja.
Bambaleje, Alaji Bamba Bujang.
The entire Gambia was divided into administrative jurisdiction, where some of the states were divided into districts. In Congo, actually. Where Gambia was divided into districts, Combo was divided into Combo East, Combo South, and Combo North, and Combo Central. Entirely, we know Bojans. Foni was actually dismembered into districts. Kia, Jara, both North and the South Bank. Gambia was actually ruled, which marked the end of independence and the beginning of our dependence politically, economically, on the European capitalist nations and industries. Where Gambia and the Gambian nations and the people were influenced by Great Britain through the governor based in Banjul, and through administrative system and structure of power was created. What, in the context of politics or administrative concept, it is called bifurcated states, where Gambia was divided into two major functional administrative systems, or regional systems, where you have the colony directly under the British governors, and the protectorate indirectly under the British system, where our own traditional chiefs were installed in power to rule. During that period, Gambia lost its independent and popular mandate in the political governance. We lost our independence and sovereignty. Chiefs who were elected in the Gambia, they were not elected through popular mandate or electoral system. Chiefs, the governors, were elected by the governor of Banjul. Our population did not have any mandate over our chiefs. This was the time we lost our independence. The chiefs were directly dictated and influenced by the British government. Great Britain and European powers used their military sophistication and political power to dictate the entire government population on what to produce according to the industrial demand of European powers.
Imbete saya kabango kuya le sumakunda bango. Obenna sankarango ma ablay bojang sankaranga. Oya kilo takinina sankarango ma pamudu bojang sankaranga. Where can you Liverpool janju diadara yasin ke malen pamudu bojang sangaranga ye bamba bojang alaji bamba bojang.
We were under colonial influence. We lost our political and our economic independence. We were dictated how what to produce. This led to the creation of peanut economy for the Gambia. We lost our economic independence when peanut was introduced. Cotton was introduced to respond to European economic agenda. Centered on peanut, cotton, and other natural resources. Politically, we were ruled by them. 62 years of colonial administration. Until 1965, people need to listen to this very section, very important section here. Until 1965, where we're going to look at the background of Gambian independence and background to post-independent period, where the British governance became oppressive to the Gambian population. Edward Francis Small, an intellectual and a scholar, a journalist, an African personality. I have never seen a unique personality and character in anybody in this country with spirit of the people and the population and the black agenda more than Edward Francis Small. A man who deserves to be celebrated in time and space, where, based on his consciousness of colonial exploitation and oppression, especially where a structure of power governed Gambia in isolation of the participation of Gambian population. Edward Francis Small stood up, questioned the legitimacy of European colonial exclusion and deprivation of Gambian population out of political mandate. He conscientized the populations of the Gambia, especially the downtrodden population, the peasants or the farmers, where he created a slogan: there should not be any tax without representation, where Gambians were paying their tax to the British government and they were not allowed to participate in the decision making. This was the period when the entire Gambia, individually, collectively, as a nation, lost their economic and political sovereignty. The fight championed by Edward Francis Small, a genuine African personality, Gambian citizens. He deserves to be celebrated when we remember personalities and the heroes who genuinely approached the independence with elaborate conscientization to make people to reflect on the degree of their oppression and deprivation as human entities and societies. Edward Francis Small, his activities were void of dirty political manipulations, were geared towards liberation, to extricate Gambian populations from the oppression initiated by the British. Jali.
Bambaleje, Alaji Bamba Budam. Alinga Bambo Kumbong, Alinga Bambo mase ala yala bambu dale suma kunda bambu.
It was during the colonial era, before the Congress of Fodesila and Fodekaba. Gambia was ruled by marabouts and the traditional kings. Fuladu Musa Molo. In the 19th century, Fodesila ruled from 1875 down to 1894. In Nyomi, Maba Konka and Badiou, Maba Konka. Fodekaba could not establish a state because the kings in Kiang and Jali were very strong, especially in Kiang. The Sane and the Sanyans resisted Fodekaba. Although in Congo, Fodesila conquered the Bojans. That marked the end of the Bojan rule, all the way from the 14th century down to the 19th century, where they ruled the Congo for more than 500 years. The Sankara power center shifted from Birkama to Kombagunju, where the Islamic State under Fodesila ruled for almost 20 years. He renamed Birkama Daru al-Islam, the abode of peace. Fighting continued between Silla and the Muslims. Competition over the control of the Gambia by the ruling elites, Muslims and the Soninke forces, where we call Soninke Marabu War, which threatened the British commerce in the latter part of 19th century. In the latter part of 19th century, Benin became a very important, very important commodities in the entire commerce of Senegambia. Fighting was intensified between the Soninke and Marabout. The British and the French were also competing and struggling over the control of Gambia region, especially in the south. The British colonialists intervened, overthrow Fodesila, overthrow Fodekaba, Musamolo in the southern Senegambia.
Bamba leje, alaje bamba bojang. Gambia, Gambia, dolbe sela sole. Jatole na jatoya, alawadi ala jatona. Ilaila bekumala jatoma, samsidinu jatoti.
Jali, when you two make this tune, I reflect on the divine power of God and the intercessory power endowed in some of our saints who pray for this country before we attain our independence. The Hydra clans, clerics, C'est ma fille, Hydra. We are celebrating something in Hydra. This country had and was blessed before the attainment of independence. That is why people said we did not fight the British to gain our independence. We got our independence, or obtained our independence on a silver platter.
Jatoya, na jatoya, alamadia na jatola. Iyo laila bekumana jatoma, samsidi mujatodi.
Jali, this was the period before the independence. Great police came to the Gambia. They played for the Gambia. These are the Syrian clerics and other clerics. Where we understand when the British were fighting to establish their hegemony in the Gambia. Two administrative sections were established in the Gambia. Combo St. Mary, that is colony of the British, and the protectorate in the rural area. Berenjai and Kawajahuma were actually fighting. And struggle for the control of the Gambia. This was the period when the entire Gambian protectorate was disenfranchised, where they would never participate in the electoral process. In this situation, we realize the great aristocrats and the royal families and their leading personalities, from the dynasties in Congo. Jali, the reason why I am asking you to change the tune, because we are going towards Gambian independence, which actually constitutes the period of post-colonial period, where the great royals of Congo stood up to ensure participation of the rural population and the protecting the population in the electoral process in the Gambia. Who were these elders? Jali.
Ibamba lady, Alaji Bamba Ojan. Mayu kana kumbo, Ibambu nyano lady, Barifa mumanso lady. Sise kuna jata kuna, alimame kuna turelo, sane kuna nyanchome, ade suma kuna bambo.
We are giving credit to the Bojan dynasties, the Tourays and the Sanyans, the great royals of Congo. In the middle of 20th century, that the entire rural population were disenfranchised under the British administration in the electoral process. Who were these royals? Passan Jali Bojang, Sumakunda, the Sankara Tabas, who ruled Kombo for more than 500 years. Particular Sanam of Faraba, Fadamba Bojang of Kufut, Fawadi Bojang of Kombo Sanam, Nambarakuna, one of the descendants of Nalibebe Bojang. Fasa Kudandamba, Sankara Bojang, Famfamar was a Touray, a descendant of Matora and Kopasina. In the entire Gambia, who were actually conscious of the deprivation and disenfranchisement of the entire rural population of the Gambia, Jali, these were the people, forces, who led Gambian population to participate in the quest for independence in a realistic form, where they demanded the British to include the rural population in the electoral process. Sadauda didn't do that. These were key elders from the royal families of Congo. I am greeting my salutation to the chief of Congo North.
Bambaleje, Sofania Bambo.
In the absence of Sadauda and the educated elite, they say why their imagination and their consciousness linked to the philosophy and the ideology of Edward Francis Moore. They question the legitimacy of the exclusion of the rural population. And they were not educated in the Western universities, they were not Western educated elite. But these people, their entire action were characterized by spirit of reality, where they will never be excluded, where when it comes to the governance of the Gambia. They were the very people who fought to ensure enfranchisement of the entire rural population. Then, we are greeting and celebrating them. These were
Bamba Bojang, Alaji Bamba Bojang. Bojang Sankaraka, Buraka Bandure, Sabo Kundin Pasabo Kandan. Bojang Sankaran Golbasiri, Nimaka, and Brigama. Sankaraka Bojang Basiri, San and Sikil Sabo, Jamuru. Bojang Jarol Basiri, Kapuda Jasule, Kanganambango. Boyantamolo Siri Sabiji de Module, Jamsu. Bambaleje, Alaji Bamba Bojang. Before
Sadauda emerged, the influence of the Gambian rural population against the colonial establishment and hegemony was designed by these elders of Congo from the Bojang dynasty, the Touray dynasty, the Sanyan dynasty. We celebrate and glorify the Sankaras. Jali. At that time, Sadauda was just a veterinarian for the British government. He was serving the British government. When these elders were struggling to identify an intellectual elite who will spearhead the official enfranchisement of protectorate population, Dr. Marena, a great man of this country, was approached. He recommended Sadauda Jawara, but Sadauda was not actually inspired, it was not part of his ideological initiatives to actually lead this country to independence. The elders of Congo, led by Ensa Touray, Sanjani Bojang, Faseku Dandamba, Fawaji Bojang of Sanyang, Fajombo Bojang of Burfoot, who identified in the struggle and the fight for Gambian independence. That's why Congo, especially Congo Central, elected Sadauda to represent them in the British Legislative Council. On the boss, confirming that these elders succeeded in influencing the British to alter their policies, especially electoral policies, to facilitate the inclusion of the entire Gambian population in the electoral process, marking the rise of popular mandate centered on Gambian power and authority, who took the Gambia to independence.
Bamba Bojang, Bamba Bojang, Alaji Bamba Bojang.
That is why we say that our independence was actually attained on silver platter because of the prayer of Marabouts, our great heroes and our great saints. Waliullah. Sadauda led the Gambia in 1965, February. Gambia attained independence. He ruled for 30 years. This country will never go into war anymore because of the prayer of people. But that's it for that. That's all. Now, by just for Sadauda ruled this country for 30 years, Jali, from 1965 to 1994. PPP government ruled this country for 30 years in peace and stability. Before the end of Sadauda's regime, one of the greatest sons sent of this country, Ensa Touray, who was actually given the divine power to prophesy to the people the coming of Yahweh in 1994. In 1994, that marked the coming of Yahweh, where Sadauda was overthrown for ruling this country for 30 years, and the Gambians became conscious of the failures and they were disillusioned of the independence. There are some. That's why we respect and value our saint. His prayers for the next leader coming actually help us to usher into the regime of Jammeh with peace and stability until his departure. why we will never forget about ourselves. God give them divine power. We call it intercessory power. Normally utilized directly benefit the societies and the nations in the world. That's why from where? Sex Hollywood. Ahmed Bamba. Samsudin Badra. And others that we have in this country. Today, we have their prayers. Gambia will never go to war. With the prayers of this center. That's on today of Jali. We celebrate them. And what we are praying today, Jali, is to see the United Gambia with peace and stability and progress. Salutation to the current president, Adama Barrow, to peace and stability in Gambia. We will have our parties and politics. But what is central to the Gambian people is the Gambia. That is why, for the Gambia, our homeland, and we believe that, in spite or despite of our diversity, culturally we are linked from the ancient time to present day. We are all from the same ancestors. Black people came from all the way from Ethiopia, Western Sudan, down to the Senegal America. Thank you all for your audience. Thank you.